Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Python Coding Challenge series. In last week's video, I set you a challenge. Write a piece of code which will solve a Minesweeper grid. In case you missed it, I'll leave a link to it in the top right-hand corner of your screen and in the video description, so make sure to check it out first. For all of you who have attempted the challenge, today I will show you my solution. We will split the solution in two. First, we need to write a function which takes the grid along with the x and y coordinates of one of its cells. We can write def check adjacent, and we can give it grid xval and yval. Now that we have as an input our entire grid as well as the coordinates of the point for which we want to count the number of adjacent mines, we have to define the space in which to conduct our search. Let's look at this diagram. If we take the cell in the center marked with an X, it will have coordinates xval and yval. We can therefore see that the range of values in the x direction will be from xval minus 1 to xval plus 1. Similarly, in the y direction, it will be from yval minus 1 to yval plus 1. So the x and y ranges that we would have to use to define our search space, represented in red, would be array h for horizontal, and that would go from xval minus 1 to xval plus 2, and our v, short for vertical, would go from yval minus 1 to yval plus 2. Now, can anyone see why the top values are given by plus 2 when looking at the diagram it should be plus 1? If you know the answer, then write it in the comments below. Else, I'll leave a link to my tutorial on the range function, which you can check out to discover the solution. Now then, looking at what we have here, you might think that we have our answer. However, you would be mistaken, because let's look at two more cases. The first is when the cell for which we are counting the adjacent mines is in the top left-hand side of the grid. In this case, the area that we want to search would be represented by the smaller red area. So the x and y arrays would also look like this. We would have array h, which would go from 0 to xval plus 2, and array vertical, which would go from 0 to yval plus 2. Now, before we draw any conclusions, let's look at a third case. How about when the cell we're interested in is in the bottom right-hand corner of the grid? Well, in this case, we'd have array h going from xval minus 1 to whatever the length of the grid is in the x direction. Similarly, we'd have array vertical going from yval minus 1 to whatever the length of the grid is in the vertical direction. As you can see, this allows us to automatically limit the search area to within the boundaries of our grid, whatever its size may be. So, now that we have our three cases, let's combine them into a single statement. We can write array h going from 0 or xval minus 1, whatever the greater of those two values may be, up until length of the grid in the x direction, or xval plus 2, whatever the minimum of that value may be. Similarly, for the vertical direction, we would have a range going from maximum of either 0 or yval minus 1, up to a minimum of the length of the grid in the vertical direction, or yval plus 2. Now I'll let you digest these statements for a minute, but if you study them closely, you'll find that they allow us to automatically define our search area such that it always remains within the boundaries of the grid. And also, this will work independently of where our cell of interest is placed within the grid. Now that we have our general statements, all of you who were perhaps not able to complete the challenge beforehand should now be able to do so with ease. So, I'm actually going to do something I've never done before, and give you one more week to attempt the challenge. In next week's video, I will show you how to translate what we've seen today into Python and thus solve the challenge. As always, if you have any other questions or topics that you would like me to cover, then don't hesitate to leave a comment down below. Thank you all for watching, and if you're enjoying these videos, then please show your support by leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Once again, I look forward to seeing you all next week for the second part of the solution. And until then, happy coding!